The city of Xinor never slept. Neon lights painted the streets in shades of blue and purple. Flying cars passed above, leaving silver trails in the air. But among all this life and movement, one figure never changed, an alien girl named Lyra. Every evening when the twin suns set behind the tall glass towers, she walked to the same corner of the city. She stood there quietly, looking up at the darkening sky, her silver eyes full of hope. People whispered when they saw her. "Look," said a street vendor, "she's still waiting." "For how long now?" another asked. 500 days, came the reply. 500 sunsets in the same place. Lyra never answered the whispers. She didn't need to. Her heart knew only one truth. He promised he would come back. Her long white hair shimmered under the streetlights. Around her neck hung a small broken communicator, half covered with scratches. It was a human device, old and strange, just like the man who gave it to her. His name was Commander Ryan, a human explorer who had crash-landed on her planet 2 years ago. He was wounded and alone. Lyra had found him in the desert, saved him, and cared for him. They became friends first, then something more, something neither of them had words for. Ryan would talk about the stars, about Earth, and about the way humans always looked for meaning in the unknown. "I will come back for you, Lyra," he said one night, his voice soft under the alien moons. "When the stars line up again, I'll return. Wait for me." And she promised she would. Then one morning, he was gone. His ship was repaired and his duty called him home. Before leaving, he placed the communicator in her hand. "This will blink when I'm close," he said with a smile. "When it does, look at the sky. That was 500 days ago." The communicator never blinked again. Until tonight, Lyra was standing at the corner, the cool wind brushing against her pale skin. The streets were quiet now. Only the hum of a drone filled the air. She looked up at the 2 moons, then it happened. Beep. A faint red light flashed on the communicator. Once, then again. Her eyes widened. For a moment she forgot how to breathe. "Ryan," she whispered. "Is it you?" The light blinked faster. She pressed the small button on the side, the same way he had shown her long ago. Static filled the air, soft, broken noise, and then a voice came through. A human voice, but it wasn't clear. Just a few words broken by distance and time. "Lyra, wait, don't trust them." And then, silence. The communicator turned off. Lyra stood frozen. Her hands trembled as she held the small device. "Don't trust who?" she whispered to herself. Who sent this message? Ryan or someone else? Her heart raced. For 500 days she had hoped for a message. But now that it came, it brought fear instead of peace. She looked around. The street was empty. But she could feel something, a presence. A shadow moved behind a glass wall. The sound of mechanical wings filled the air. A government drone hovered above, its red lens focusing on her. It scanned her face, then flew away into the night. Something was wrong. She could feel it. Lyra walked back to her small apartment. It was dark and quiet, filled with books and strange machines Ryan had left behind. She sat near the window, replaying the voice in her mind. Don't trust them. Who were they? The city council? The human embassy? Or maybe the ones who had taken Ryan away? She opened a hidden box under her bed. Inside was an old photo, Ryan standing beside her, smiling. The words written on the back said, "To the girl who believes in stars." A single tear rolled down her cheek. She touched the photo and whispered, "I still believe." Then she turned the communicator on again. Nothing. Dead silence. Still she waited. Outside, the night grew darker. The twin moons hid behind clouds. Lightning flashed in the distance. For a brief moment, Lyra saw something strange in the sky, a trail of light like a falling star. Her heart jumped. Maybe, just maybe, he was coming back. She ran to the rooftop, the wind blowing her hair wildly. She looked up, eyes wide. The light was moving, slow then fast. It wasn't a star. It was a ship entering the planet's atmosphere. She smiled for the first time in months. "Ryan," she whispered, "you came back." But then the communicator blinked again, bright red, and showed a message she had never seen before. Warning, unknown signal detected. Origin classified. Her smile slowly faded. If that wasn't Ryan, then who was coming? The night was silent, but Lyra's heart was not. It beat fast like a warning drum inside her chest. The red light on her communicator had gone dark again, but her mind could still hear the broken words. Don't trust them. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the small metal device in her hands. For 500 days, she had begged for a signal, a voice, any sign from Ryan. And now, when it finally came, it brought only confusion and fear. Who are they? She whispered to herself. And why now? Her apartment lights flickered for a moment. The city of Xinor was alive outside. Hover cars flying, screens glowing with news, people walking with mechanical pets. But Lyra's world had suddenly grown small, filled with questions she couldn't answer. She looked again at the communicator. Don't trust them. Ryan's voice, or something like it. But what if it wasn't him? Lyra put on her long gray coat and stepped out into the cold night. The twin moons were half hidden behind the clouds, and a fine mist covered the streets. She walked fast, head down, through the narrow alleys of the lower city. Here machines were old and dirty, and people spoke in low voices. Somewhere deep underground lived a man named Kor, an old mechanic who once worked with human explorers. If anyone knew what this signal meant, it would be him. Kor's workshop was hidden behind a junkyard full of broken robots. Lyra pushed open the heavy door. A wave of hot, oily air hit her face. Inside, dozens of machines lay in pieces, their eyes glowing weakly like dying stars. The old mechanic looked up from his desk. His skin was pale blue, his hands black with grease. Well, look who's here, he said in a rough voice. The girl who never stopped waiting. Lyra's eyes flashed. I need your help, Kor. My communicator received a signal. A human voice, the old man raised a brow. After all this time? He reached for the device. Let me see. He connected the communicator to his terminal. The screen flickered, showing strange patterns of numbers and broken sound waves. This isn't a normal message, he muttered. It's coded. Someone wanted to hide it. Can you tell who sent it? Lyra asked quickly. He shook his head. No, but the signal didn't come from the human colonies. It came from inside the city. Lyra's blood ran cold. That's impossible. Nothing's impossible, Kor said, especially in Xinor. He leaned closer, his voice low. Listen, Lyra, you think Ryan was a hero. You think he loved you? But humans don't stay for love. They stay for power, Lyra frowned. You're lying, Kor sighed. I'm not. Before he met you, Ryan worked with the Council. He was building something dangerous. He promised to destroy it, but he never did. What was it? She asked. The old man hesitated. A weapon. One that could change minds. Lyra stepped back, shaking her head. No, Ryan wouldn't. He wasn't like that. Kor's eyes softened. Maybe he wasn't, but someone used his name again tonight. Whoever sent that message wants you to find something. Or maybe they want you to run. Before she could answer, a loud sound shook the walls. Boom! The lights flickered. Outside, bright red drones flew past the windows. Kor cursed. They found us, go! Lyra grabbed the communicator and ran through the back door. Alarms echoed across the junkyard. A spotlight followed her as she sprinted through the metal maze. Stop! A robotic voice ordered. She turned a corner and jumped into a narrow drain tunnel. The air was cold and smelled of rust. She crawled forward until she reached an opening that looked out onto the city river. Behind her, the sound of drones grew louder. One beam of red light swept over the tunnel mouth, but then vanished. She held her breath for several seconds before stepping out. Her hands were shaking. Lyra stood near the dark water, staring at her reflection. Why are they chasing me? She whispered. Because of Ryan? Or because of this message? She turned on the communicator again. It showed strange coordinates, numbers changing rapidly on the small screen. A location, somewhere below the city. Is this where you are, Ryan? She asked softly. Or is this where they buried the truth? The wind howled, and the city lights reflected like broken stars in the river. Lyra clenched her fist. She was tired of waiting. The time for standing at the corner was over. If you're out there, she said, looking up at the sky, I'm coming to find you. She pulled her hood over her head and walked into the shadows, unaware that far above her, a camera lens turned and followed her every step. On a silent rooftop, a figure in black armor watched her through a red scope. He spoke into a small communicator. Target found. She has the device. Begin phase 2. The city of Xinor looked peaceful from above, but deep under its glowing streets were layers of darkness, forgotten tunnels, sealed labs, and silent machines that had not seen light for years. Lyra followed the coordinates that appeared on her communicator. The numbers led her to the old district, a place no one visited anymore. The buildings were cracked, the air smelled of dust and iron, and the only sounds were the echo of her own footsteps. She stopped in front of an ancient elevator shaft covered with warning signs. The door was locked with rusted metal, but the communicator blinked again, soft blue light flashing like a heartbeat. She pressed the device against the control pad. A mechanical voice said, "Access granted." "Welcome, Commander Ryan." Lyra froze. "Ryan?" she whispered. Then the door opened with a hiss. The elevator moved down slowly, deeper and deeper beneath the city. Lights flickered around her, and the walls changed from metal to smooth white panels. It felt like entering a different world. When the elevator finally stopped, a soft mist filled the air. The doors opened into a massive underground chamber, silent, cold, and full of machines. Rows of glowing tubes lined the walls, each one filled with blue liquid. Inside them were humans. Lyra's breath caught. No, it can't be. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds, floating in stillness, their faces peaceful as if sleeping. But she saw something that made her heart stop. One of the pods had a label, Commander Ryan, status unknown. She ran closer, pressing her hands to the glass. It was him. His face was pale, his hair floating softly in the blue light. He looked exactly the same as the day he left her. "Ryan, you're alive?" she whispered. "You were here all along?" A soft voice echoed through the room. "He cannot hear you." Lyra turned quickly. A tall holographic figure appeared in front of her, a woman made of blue light, her eyes glowing like stars. "Who are you?" Lyra asked. "I am Unit Era Artificial Intelligence Research Assistant. I was created by Commander Ryan to protect this facility." Lyra stared at the glowing woman. "Protect it from what?" "From them," the AI said simply. "The Council wanted to use human minds as data processors, to build a machine that could predict and control alien behavior." Lyra's heart pounded. "That's impossible." "They wouldn't." "They already did," Era interrupted. "Commander Ryan discovered their plan. He tried to stop them. He failed. The Council captured him and stored his mind in this chamber." Lyra felt the world tilt around her. He didn't leave me. He was taken." "Yes," Era said. "He believed you would find him one day." Tears filled her eyes. For 500 days she had thought he broke his promise. Now she realized he never had the chance to return. Era continued, her voice calm but cold. "This facility is not safe. The Council erased its existence from public records. They will destroy it once they know you are here." "How do I free him?" Lyra asked quickly. The AI paused. "You cannot free his body, but his mind, his consciousness, is still active in the system. You can reach him through the core." "Then take me there," Lyra said. "Follow me." Era's glowing form floated through the corridor. Lyra followed, her communicator lighting the way. They passed through long halls filled with strange machines, old documents, and broken symbols of the Human Council. At the end of the corridor stood a large circular door, covered in warning lights. "Beyond this point is the core," Ira said. "But be careful. The system defenses are still active." Before Lyra could reply, red lights suddenly flashed around them. A deep alarm echoed through the chamber. "Unauthorized access detected." Era's voice turned sharp. "They have found us." Drones dropped from the ceiling, sleek, black, and deadly. Their red eyes locked on Lyra. She grabbed a metal rod from the floor as a drone fired a blue beam at her. She rolled aside and swung, hitting it hard. Sparks flew as it crashed to the ground. Era projected a shield of light around her. "Run, Lyra! Head to the core!" Lyra sprinted down the corridor, her heart racing. She could hear the sound of drones following close behind. The air was thick with smoke and static. She reached the door and slammed her communicator against it. The device beeped. "Access code accepted. Core chamber unlocked." The door opened, revealing a giant sphere of light floating in the center of the room. Alive, pulsing, humming with energy. "Ryan," Lyra whispered, stepping closer. The communicator in her hand flickered again, and this time she heard a clear voice. Soft, human, familiar. "Lyra, is that really you?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Ryan, I found you." "No," the voice said weakly. "You're not safe here. They're coming. Run." But before she could answer, the door behind her exploded. Dozens of drones swarmed in, their lights glowing red. Lyra turned toward the sphere of light. "I'm not leaving you again." And then, everything went white. The world around Lyra turned white. A flash of light swallowed the chamber, throwing her to the ground. Alarms screamed and the air smelled like burning metal. When the light faded, she saw broken drones scattered across the floor, some burning, others twitching weakly. She coughed and tried to stand. The core sphere in the center of the room was flickering now, its blue light unstable. The voice, Ryan's voice, still echoed faintly inside the air. "Lyra, can you hear me?" She grabbed the communicator tightly. "Yes, I'm here." "I found you, Ryan." "I won't leave you again." For a moment, silence. Then the voice returned, calm but heavy. "Listen to me. You must leave this place. They are coming. The council knows you found the core. I'm not leaving you," she shouted. "You can't save me, Lyra. Not the way you think." Tears filled her eyes. "You're alive. I can bring you back." "No," he whispered. "I'm not alive anymore. My body died long ago. What you're hearing is a digital copy of my mind. The real me is gone." Her heart froze. No, that's not true. "I tried to protect you," the voice continued. "They were using human minds to build a machine, a weapon that could control thought. I destroyed the main program, but they caught me. Before I died, I uploaded a fragment of myself into Era's system." Lyra looked around. The holographic AI Era was standing nearby, her form flickering. "He speaks the truth," Era said softly. "Commander Ryan sacrificed himself to stop the Council's plan. You must escape before they erase him completely." Lyra wiped her tears and looked at the sphere. "There has to be a way to save him." "Tell me how." Era hesitated. "There is one way, but it is dangerous. You can transfer his data into your communicator. It will keep his memory alive, but only for a short time. If the system crashes, both of you will die." "I'll do it," Lyra said without thinking. "Lyra, don't!" Ryan's voice echoed through the room. "If you do this, they'll hunt you forever." She smiled through her tears. "Then let them. I waited for you 500 days, Ryan. I'm not losing you again." Era activated a control panel. "Transfer process starting. You have 90 seconds." Lyra pressed the communicator into the core's light. Energy surged through the room. The walls glowed and sparks flew. The sound was deafening. She gritted her teeth as the heat burned her hands. "Hold on, Ryan," the voice inside the communicator whispered weakly. "Lyra, promise me something." "What?" "If you survive, find the stars. Find a planet called Alaris. That's where the truth began." She nodded. "I promise." The core flickered violently. "Transfer complete," Era announced. "But the system is collapsing. You must leave now." The floor shook. Cracks spread across the walls. Drones reactivated, their red eyes glowing again. Lyra grabbed the communicator and ran toward the exit. Behind her, the core exploded in a wave of blue light. The ceiling collapsed and fire filled the corridor. She ran faster, lungs burning, dodging falling debris and sparks. The elevator shaft ahead was sealed, so she turned toward a maintenance tunnel. Era appeared beside her as a small holographic flicker. "This way. I'll guide you to the surface. Will you come with me?" Lyra asked between breaths. "My system is tied to this base," Era said. "If I leave, I'll die. But it's all right. My purpose is complete. Protect him." Lyra slowed for a moment, sadness flashing across her face. "Thank you, Era." "Goodbye, Lyra, and remember, sometimes waiting is not weakness. It is strength." Then the hologram vanished. Lyra crawled through a narrow pipe, her clothes covered in dust and oil. Explosions echoed behind her, shaking the ground. She reached a hatch and kicked it open. Cold night air hit her face. She climbed out into the ruins of the old district. The city above looked normal. Bright lights, flying cars, people laughing. No one knew that a secret war had just happened beneath their feet. She looked down at the communicator in her hand. It was cracked, but the light still blinked softly. "Ryan, are you still there?" For a long moment, silence. Then faintly, "Always." Lyra smiled, her eyes wet. She turned and began walking away from the ruins. Behind her, the ground trembled as the underground base collapsed completely. The sound faded into the distance like thunder. She looked up at the sky. 2 moons glowed above her, and among them, one tiny star pulsed brighter than the rest, like a beacon calling her forward. "Alaris," she whispered. "That's where we go next." She didn't know that high above, in an invisible ship orbiting the planet, A man in black armor watched her on a holographic screen. "She escaped," he said coldly. "Good," replied another voice. "Let her run. She'll lead us straight to the final key." The man smiled. "And when she does..." He turned off the screen. "We take everything." The twin moons faded behind the clouds as Lyra walked into the empty desert outside Zyner. For the first time in 500 days, she was not waiting anymore. She was moving forward. The communicator glowed faintly in her hand. Inside it, Ryan's digital voice whispered from time to time, weak but warm. "You shouldn't have done that, Lyra." She smiled softly. "Too late now. You said find the stars, remember? I'm following your promise." The horizon ahead was dark, endless. Far in the distance, half buried in the sand, stood the wreck of an old human shuttle, one of the first ships that came to her world decades ago. It was broken, forgotten, and forbidden by law to touch. Perfect for her escape. Inside the shuttle, dust covered every surface. Wires hung from the ceiling like vines, and the smell of metal and decay filled the air. Lyra brushed the dust off the control board. The screens flickered weakly, like eyes trying to open after a long sleep. "This ship is too old," Ryan's voice murmured. "It won't fly far," Lyra smiled. "It only needs to fly once." She connected the communicator to the ship's main system. The engines hummed faintly. Lights flickered alive. The entire room seemed to breathe again. "See," she said, "you're still a good engineer." "I taught you well," Ryan replied with a hint of pride. "Now let's find Alaris." For hours, Lyra worked nonstop. She replaced wires, realigned thrusters, and used broken panels as armor plating. The sun rose, painting the desert gold. Finally, the ship was ready. She stood at the control seat, her reflection shining in the cracked glass window. "Alaris," she whispered, entering the coordinates Ryan had mentioned. The engines roared. Sand lifted into the air like a storm. The shuttle rose, slowly at first, then faster. The world of Xenor shrank below her. She felt weightless, free, terrified, and alive all at once. "You did it," Ryan said softly. "You really did it." Lyra looked out at the stars. "I told you I never break a promise." Hours turned into days. The stars outside changed color as they passed through hyperlanes. The silence of space wrapped around them like an endless dream. Ryan's digital voice sometimes faded, sometimes returned, but always stayed with her. They talked about old memories, the desert, the stars, the night he promised to return. At one point, he said quietly, "You know, Lyra, if I were still human, I would tell you." "I'm proud of you," she smiled. "Then tell me anyway." "I'm proud of you," he said. Her heart ached, but she didn't cry. Not this time. After 5 long days, the stars ahead shifted. The communicator blinked rapidly. "Coordinates match. Alaris system ahead," Ryan said. Lyra sat upright. "What's there?" "A planet that was erased from records," he replied. "Humans and aliens once lived together there, until the Council wiped it out." As they came closer, the planet appeared, half green, half ruined. One side glowed with forests and blue oceans, the other side burned black, filled with craters and twisted metal. Lyra gasped. "It's beautiful, and broken." "Like everything the Council touches," Ryan murmured. She guided the ship through the thin atmosphere. Static danced across the windows. Finally, the shuttle landed near an ancient city, its towers leaning like bones of a giant creature. The silence was heavy. Lyra stepped out, her boots crunching on the gray dust. The sky above Alaris shimmered with strange lights, ghost signals of old machines still running beneath the surface. Suddenly, the communicator beeped. "Signal detected. Human frequency." Her eyes widened. "There are humans here?" "No," Ryan said slowly. "These are recordings, echoes from the past." Then she heard it, a soft voice whispering through the static. "Lyra." Her blood froze. It was Ryan's voice, but different, colder. "That's not me," Ryan said from the communicator. "It's a mimic. A leftover AI copy." The ghost voice spoke again. "Come to the center. He's waiting." Lyra looked toward the ruins. In the distance, an old tower still stood, its top glowing faintly. "I have to see," she said. "It could be a trap," Ryan warned. She smiled sadly. "Maybe. But so was love." Lyra walked through the ruins, her footsteps echoing against old stone. The closer she got to the tower, the stronger the ghost signal became. Screens flickered on broken walls showing blurry images. Humans shaking hands with aliens, then explosions, then fire. At the base of the tower, she found a large metallic door. On it was written in human letters, Project Promise. Her hands trembled as she touched the panel. The door opened slowly with a hiss. Inside was a room full of glowing pods, just like the ones under Xynor. But these were different. Inside each pod was not a human or alien body, just light like trapped souls. The communicator's light blinked fast. "Lyra," Ryan whispered. "This is where it all began. The Council used this place to test the merge between minds. I was one of their last subjects." Lyra looked at the largest pod in the center. It carried his name, Commander Ryan. Status, final backup. Her heart stopped. "You mean your real mind?" "Yes," he said quietly. "My last copy. My truth." Before she could speak, the lights flickered red. A voice filled the room, cold and mechanical. "Unauthorized entry detected. Begin lockdown." Lyra turned toward the door, but it was already closing. The metallic door slammed shut behind Lyra with a loud hiss. The room was bathed in red light. Alarms echoed through the ruins and dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra spun around, searching for a way out, but there was none. The heavy door sealed like a tomb. In front of her stood the glowing pods, humming softly, their lights flickering like trapped souls trying to breathe. She clutched the communicator in her hands. "Ryan, the door's locked. What do I do?" "Stay calm," his voice came through the static. "The system reacts to fear. It's part of the defense code." Lyra tried to steady her breath. The room felt alive, walls humming, air vibrating. She walked toward the center pod, the one that carried his name, Commander Ryan. Status, final backup. Her hands shook as she touched the glass. Inside was no body, just a swirl of blue energy moving like liquid light. "Ryan, is this really you?" "Yes," he said softly. "This is where my real consciousness was stored before the Council shut it down. What you've been talking to was only a small copy of my mind." Her heart sank. Then the voice inside my communicator, "It's not you." "It's me," he replied, "but only part of me." A broken echo. "The real me, the complete version, is inside this pod, waiting, just like you waited for me." Lyra's throat tightened. "I waited for you 500 days, Ryan. You promised you'd return." The pod glowed brighter. "I did return," he said, his voice filled with pain. "But not in the way I wanted." The alarms faded. The air turned still, heavy with silence. "Tell me everything," Lyra whispered. The lights dimmed and holograms appeared around the room, memories frozen in time. She saw Ryan, alive and human, standing beside scientists. Machines hummed. Aliens and humans worked together. "This was Project Promise," Ryan explained. "It began as peace between humans and your people. We wanted to share knowledge, but the Council twisted it. They used minds, human and alien, to build a system that could predict every choice, every emotion." Lyra watched the hologram of soldiers dragging him away. "They used you?" "I found out too late," Ryan continued. "They wanted to erase free will. I destroyed their main core, but they captured me. Before they killed my body, I uploaded myself here, into the system, so that one day if someone found me, the truth would live again." Lyra felt her chest tighten. "So all this time your promise wasn't to come back physically?" "No," he said. "My promise was to make sure you would live in a free world." "You are my reason to fight." Tears rolled down her face. "You fool," she said softly. "You should have told me. Would you have let me go if I had?" He asked gently. She smiled weakly. "No, I would have followed you then too." The room shook again. The system voice returned, cold and robotic. "Containment breach detected. Purging all data." "Ryan," Lyra shouted. "What's happening?" "The system is deleting everything, including me." She slammed her hand against the pod. "No, there has to be a way." "There is one," he said. "You can transfer my complete mind into your ship's memory, but you'll have to stay connected during the process. If the system overloads, you'll die too." Lyra hesitated for only a second. Then she placed the communicator on the console. "Do it." "Lyra, no arguments," she said, tears in her eyes. "We finish this together." Energy burst from the pod. Streams of blue light wrapped around her like rivers of electricity. Her hair lifted, her skin burned, but she didn't move. "Stay with me," Ryan's voice said, fading in and out. "I'm not going anywhere," she shouted through the noise. The lights grew blinding. The room began to collapse, chunks of metal falling from the ceiling. Then silence. The red lights turned off. The pod stopped glowing. The communicator in her hand blinked once, green. "Transfer complete," Ryan whispered. "I'm here. Inside your ship's system now." Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted but smiling. "We did it. You saved me," he said softly. "But now you have to leave. This planet is dying." She looked up. The walls cracked, releasing bright energy. Outside the door, she could hear the tower rumbling. "I'm not leaving without you." "You're not," he said gently. "I'll be with you, always." Lyra ran toward the exit tunnel that opened behind the collapsing pod. She climbed through smoke and fire until she reached the surface. The sky of Alaris was breaking apart, storms of light spinning in every direction. Her shuttle stood waiting, half covered in dust. She jumped inside, pressed the ignition, and the engines roared to life. The planet shook violently as the ship lifted off. Fire spread across the ruins below. "Lyra," Ryan said softly in her mind, his voice clearer than ever. "Thank you for keeping your promise," she smiled weakly. "You kept yours first." As the ship broke through the clouds, the planet exploded in a wave of blue light. Lyra closed her eyes, whispering through the tears, "Goodbye, Alaris. Hello forever." The stars opened in front of her, endless and bright. The stars stretched endlessly ahead as Lyra's ship drifted through the silence of space. The planet Alaris was gone now, just a cloud of glowing dust behind her. She watched it fade in the rear screen, her heart heavy yet calm. Inside the cockpit, the communicator blinked softly, steady and alive. "You did it, Lyra," Ryan's voice said gently. "You saved what was left of me." She smiled faintly. "Then we both kept our promises." For the first time, his voice didn't sound distant or broken. It was warm, full of life. His consciousness, now part of the ship's core, seemed to move with the engines themselves, his heartbeat echoing in the hum of the thrusters. Outside, the galaxies glowed like rivers of light. But deep inside her, a question remained. What now? Days passed quietly. Lyra explored the ship, cleaned the systems, and stared at the starlight through the glass. Sometimes she laughed at Ryan's sarcastic jokes. Sometimes she cried when his voice faded mid-sentence. He was there, but not. Human, but not. One night, while she was watching the stars, Ryan spoke softly. "Lyra, do you ever wonder why they called it Project Promise?" She looked up. "Because of us?" "Maybe, but I think it was more than that. The humans wanted to build something that would last forever, a mind that could never die. They failed. But maybe they didn't realize love was already that." Lyra smiled sadly. "You always talk like a poet. And you always listen," he said warmly. Suddenly, the ship's alarm beeped. Lyra jumped to the control screen. A signal was flashing, faint but real. "Incoming transmission detected. Frequency unknown." Her heart skipped. "Ryan, do you think it's them?" "No, this signal is old. Maybe from another world. Or someone calling for help," she hesitated. After everything, she didn't trust signals anymore. But something inside her whispered, "Hope." "Let's check it," she said. The ship changed direction, following the faint transmission. Hours passed. Then, from the darkness, a small beacon appeared, a floating satellite, ancient and cracked. It repeated the same words in an endless loop. "To whoever finds this, humanity endures. We left for the edge of the stars. Don't give up. Keep the light." Lyra touched the glass. "Ryan, do you hear that?" "Yes," he said softly. "It's a message from the old human fleets. They're still out there somewhere." Her eyes filled with tears. "Then maybe we're not alone." As the ship floated near the beacon, something beautiful happened. The dust from the destroyed planet Alaris drifted into their path, glowing like silver snow. The particles hit the ship's energy field and turned into soft lights, dancing around her like fireflies. Ryan's voice whispered, almost like a memory carried in the glow. "Do you remember the corner, Lyra? The one where you used to wait?" Her lips curved into a soft smile. "How could I forget? I waited too," he said. "Not in one place, but inside every signal, every echo, every dream. I was always trying to reach you." Lyra closed her eyes, whispering, "Then I found you among the stars." The light outside grew brighter. It surrounded the ship like a halo. For a moment it felt as if the universe itself was breathing with them. But then Ryan's voice grew faint again. "Lyra, the data core is decaying. My systems won't last much longer." Her eyes widened. "No, I just got you back. I can't lose you again." "You won't," he said gently. "You'll keep flying. You'll find the others. You'll tell them the truth about us. About Alaris. About what we lost and what we became." Tears rolled down her face. "I don't want to say goodbye." "Then don't. Just keep me in the light." The communicator flickered. The blinking slowed. "Ryan?" She whispered no answer. Only the hum of the ship. She placed her hand on the glass and whispered, "I will." Weeks later, the ship landed on a small green moon. Lyra stepped out into fresh air, the sky painted with strange stars. She carried the communicator with her, though it no longer blinked. She planted it in the ground like a seed. Around it, she built a small marker made of stone and metal. On it, she wrote in simple letters, "For the one who kept his promise. For the one who waited." When she looked up at the night sky, a single star above her blinked once, bright, then gone. Lyra smiled through her tears. "I see you, Ryan." Years later, travelers passing that moon told stories about a strange glowing signal that came from a single spot on the surface. They said when they listened closely they could hear a voice whispering, "Keep the light." And in the distance, a ship shaped like a tear of silver left the planet's orbit, its engines glowing with blue fire heading once again toward the stars.